Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It's your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Launched in 2019, this is the much-discussed Tudor Black Bay P01, a modern-day dive watch based on a 1967 prototype built by Tudor for the U.S. Navy. This is probably the most distinctive dive watch Tudor makes, and yes, I'm including all of the Black Bay variants and the Pelagos there. This thing is unlike any other Tudor watch, not just unlike any other Tudor diver. Sizing is difficult to discuss. It's a 42, but it doesn't wear like a 42. So you can see 42 millimeters in diameter, but from lug to lug across the wrist, 55.7 millimeters, so a big watch. 14.4 millimeters thick, and though the lugs are unconventional, you do use a standard 20 millimeter strap. So at the end of the double articulated lug, there is a 20 millimeter aperture for a 20 millimeter strap. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. And now you can see how this watch fits. It is quite broad. I would recommend this for a wrist no smaller than 15 centimeters circumference, preferably 16. I can wear it, but it is big. It is exceptionally large. Like a Royal Oak offshore, it wears at least 2 millimeters, maybe 3 millimeters larger than its rated size, though it's not super thick, not by the standards of in-house movement Tudor divers. Taking a quick look at the hardware and the software, it is quite distinctive. We have these pivoted end links that I guess need to be considered part of the case more than part of the strap, as these are permanent components of the watch. You can see how there's one pivot, and then there's a second pivot. So there's a lot of articulation, and you can pull the strap straight down around a smaller wrist. So you're going to be borderline if you're 15 centimeters, but the watch does go out of its way to fit around a smaller wrist. The strap and the links pull straight down. Now the strap is a lovely, almost suede calfskin on the top. There's a lightly contrasting stitch that matches the light ecru of the date disc and the coloration of the Lume. And then it's underlaid with thick rubber, so it's going to last a long time. It's going to separate the strap from the oils of the wrist. And then if you look carefully, you can see this little motif that's echoed in the design of the seconds hand and the hour hand. This is another reference to the late 60s to mid 70s Tudor Snowflake dial submariners. As you can see, on both sides, there are little contrasting stitches on the strap minder, and then we have a Tudor Shield logo, the post-1968 logo, built into the clasp itself. There's a clamshell, you pop it up, and then you pull it open. As you can see, it is steel, and it features ceramic pin snaps built in, so over time the steel cannot aggress against these ceramic pin snaps, and that'll maintain the tight tolerances as the watch ages. You can see that it does look very much like a prototype out of the 60s, as there's no beveling on the flanks of the lugs or the flank of the case. It's sheer of side, it's all satinated to resist glare, and then it's sort of squared off at the lug ends. You could also see that there are bolts used to hold the articulated end links of the bracelet in place. And if you look closely, you can actually see that there's an element of surprise built in here, as this articulated link up at 12 o'clock will unlock the bi-directional rotating 12-hour count-up bezel. Another reference to antiquity right there. All of it's satinated. There's a horizontal satin finish along the case flank. You can see that there is sort of circular satin that runs in an imaginary circuit around the lug hoods. This concentric graining continues all the way around. We have an off-centered crown to make this an ambidextrous watch. 200 meters water-resistant screw-down crown, Tudor Shield logo on the crown, Tudor Shield logo on the dial. When you lock the lugs up at 12 o'clock, you can't actually move that bezel, so it does lock itself in place. It is not a conventional 60-minute bezel, however, and you can see there's that lovely radial lapping machine pattern, that imaginary center grain as though emanating from the hands. So taking a quick look at the dial, you can see that it's not terribly true to the 1967 original. This is really where the Black Bay P01 diverges from the prototype most. It is a combination of the snowflake look with the hands, and then it's got a fairly standardized matte black anti-reflective base. The printing is different, the colors used are different. Tudor uses an ecru Lume here, which is a little bit of a simulated tritium patina. They really exercised restraint. They could have gone absolutely nuts and made this like cloyingly brown. They went with a light off-white to give it some warmth, but not make it look so Faux-tinted that it becomes a cliche. And good attention to detail here. If you take a quick look, they used the same color for the date disc. Now the watch has these extended individual hashes outboard, and that is probably the closest the dial comes to paying tribute to the 1967 original. That one did have a sort of radial dial with very long individual minute and seconds hashes. So we have a caliber MT5612 in here. It's what you'll get in a Pelagos. Automatic winding, bi-directional, 70-hour power reserve, anti-magnetic silicone hairspring, hacking seconds, quick set date, 26 joules, COSC chronometer certified. And remember, that silicone hairspring is something Tudor gives you that it's still rare on Rolex watches. Only a couple of mid-size watches have that. So this is a more anti-magnetic watch, and of course it is COSC certified as a Swiss chronometer with a full balance bridge and a free sprung index to make it both easy to adjust accurately and then very shock tolerant. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Tudor P01.